to this now. Over 400 Eastern Cape schools still rely on unsafe pit toilets. Now, this is according to a study done by the South African Human Rights Commission. The investigation was launched to look into the conditions of sanitation facilities in foundation phase schools in the Eastern Cape. Let's discuss this further now. I'm joined by Dr Eileen Carter, who is the Provincial Manager of the South African Human Rights Commission, and she joins us live now. Good evening to you, Dr Carter, and thank you so much for your time. Going through your report, it's quite sad to see, for example, Upper Kumashe Lower Primary School in Alice still relies on unsafe traditional pit toilets. Young learners are at risk because seat sizes were far too large for small children. Similarly, at Yamaha Primary School and Sondaba Senior Primary School, among others, how concerned are you as the Commission with what you've uncovered in the province of the Eastern Cape?
Good evening, and good evening to the viewers. Well, it's a conversation, unfortunately, that we don't still want to have. Probably 10 years, a little bit more than 10 years after the death of Michael Kumape. So if we do embark as the Human Rights Commission in terms of our monitoring endeavours and our mandate to go to the ground and see what the children of these schools are faced with, what we want to see is not this. What we want to see is progress. And unfortunately, what we've had to do now is draft a report and make very clear recommendations and findings against the department in respect of violation of children's rights.
And when you then are doing this work, are they going to the schools on the ground? And I ask this because when one goes through a report, in Makanda, for example, there's newly built pit latrines that are yet to be handed over for use, and the same in Lindogutle Primary School. Are there officials going there to see what's happening, or are they simply relying on a report from some of the schools?
Absolutely. So the Human Rights Commission's got one very strong mandate, and that's a monitoring mandate. And what that means practically in our offices is right across the country, we've got human rights officers and human rights monitors who go to the ground, who go and investigate and go collect data and information and fact-finding mission, so that whatever recommendations we make in respect of adherence to the Bill of Rights, we can base on data and facts from our own collection. Now, in this case, what we did is from systemic concerns. Now, pit toilets and traditional pit toilets, and even now the improved ventilated pit toilets, has been a concern of ours for some time. And in terms of our advocacy processes, we've also been speaking about it for some time. And what we've now done is we've gathered information to see where are we in terms of eradication of the traditional pit toilets. But what we've now uncovered is that perhaps we are not wholly eradicating the concerns when we do replace them with the ventilated improved pit toilets.
And the fact that right on that point, right, where you're seeing improvements, you then have toilets, for example, in some schools that would be ideal as flushing toilets, but there are water supply challenges.
Yes, no, absolutely. So what we've unfortunately in a lot of schools, that may even not be reflected in the report there, as we did make mention that that is definitely not an exhaustive list of schools that the Commission has visited. But what we've found is sometimes in rural areas or areas where there is not a lot of water availability, we would see that there was a rollout of flushing toilets, but the school themselves would like to revert back to more to ventilated pit latrines because of the availability or the lack of availability of water in the area. So then we have to ask, has there indeed been a response to the needs of the school, and has there indeed been an improvement of the facilities at the school? If you would have seen in the report as well, in one of the schools, the children just had to revert back to traditional pits.
And with the Basic Education Minister, right, saying that she set herself a target of ensuring that all pit toilets are removed from schools by March 2025, that's next month, in your view, can this deadline be met?
Yes, I think we need to acknowledge that massive strides have been made. There's been a lot of improvement, specifically in the Eastern Cape, and there's been momentum. But unfortunately, and as per our own communications and engagements with the department, for this financial year, their budget has been depleted. So there will not be an eradication in our view, and as per the department's own version, an eradication of traditional pit latrines at this stage.
Sure. And one then would ask, with all this information that you've then collated, and yes, you've engaged the department, but one would then say, what happens next?
So So from our side, we've made recommendations to the department, and as per our mandating legislation, we would provide them now with 60 days to respond on how they intend to address the concerns that we've raised in the report and how they intend to implement our recommendations. Now, we are very clear in terms of the progressive realization, I would say, mantle under which we are interpreting Section 28 and 29 of the Constitution. In reality, these rights should be immediately enforceable. So what we are asking as the Commission is that we should not look at this as an infrastructure concern, but as a human rights concern, and we need to budget accordingly.